Welcome to the podcast, Wait, What Do You Do Again? Where we talk to everyday people doing amazing things. I'm your host, Meghan DeFord. Let's go. Guys, guess what? This podcast is turning 1 year old this summer. I am so excited to celebrate with you. I have free things that I'm giving away, and you can find out more information on that at megdeford.com. Thank you so much for listening, for reviewing, for commenting, for sharing with your friends. Please keep doing that. It really helps. And for making this podcast possible. Okay, thanks. So wait, let's talk about your book. You've got Act 1 and Act 2 done.
Right.
Now we're in Act 3. How much more do you have to go?
Act 3 is the last act.
Get excited.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end of the road here with our
At the end of the road. Keep going, I'm sorry.
It's a natural. Be loved by me. I'm in love with you.
So Act 3, how are you feeling?
It's good. It's good. I think it's good. It's
Do you know how it ends? Or are you figuring it out as you write it?
Oh yeah, it's I know how it ends. It's great to sort of to be with these characters and develop them.
Yeah.
It's like I'm living with them.
Yeah.
They definitely are they're real to me. Will and Cleo are strapping young men
Mm.
in the story, and so it's interesting getting to see myself through them, when because I'm writing them and I've created them, and just like their journey through the summer that they're spending together. Um, but yeah, it's been rewarding. I think about it all the time, as you know. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. Like I just finished first chapter of Act 3 a few days ago, and so then now I'm like, okay, next chapter, let's roll this out. So I have a great outline. One of the great things ChatGPT does really well is help with the outlining and keep
Mm-hmm.
staying organized of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these thoughts about all of my chapters, and it'll organize them for me, which is great. You're like, okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Uh, and so then now I'm just like drafting them now, and so.
Are there assumptions that you've made about the world that they live in that necessarily don't reflect the world we actually live in? So like for instance, I remember hearing Dan and Eugene Levy talking about Schitt's Creek, and they were like, we decided that the community, like being gay was not going to be an issue. We like that was just accepted and not even something that needed to be brought up because we decided in that world it was completely accepted.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I've written it. This is not a both of the main characters are gay, and this is not like a like, oh, this burden I have.
Hmm.
That's not the tone of the and
That's
the
not the
right.
plot point.
This story is about these two men who happen to be gay, and their lives happen to be interconnected. We learn throughout the story that their lives are interconnected from long ago. What?
I'm just so excited for it. It's got such a twist too.
And their lives are interconnected, and throughout the story, you learn about how deep their lives are interconnected. And so it's a love story, it's a mystery, it's a thriller in some part of it.
It's the complexity of families.
It's
Like,
families, it's legacy, it's sort of, it has to do with that. It's a reparation, but not in the reparation as we think of it as today. Um, what else? There's travel. They travel between New York, DC,
mhm.
Cartagena, and Colombia, as well as the Hamptons. Uh,
Wealth,
we talk about wealth and not in sort of
socioeconomic, yeah.
classes, socioeconomic class. It's just a lot. It's a lot wrapped into this, and so yeah, it's fun.
Have you gone back and like reread Act 1 and Act 2, or are you just plowing
Um,
forward?
for your advice, my sisters, I'm just plowing for it. I did do that a little bit, but then what do you say, death by edits? You're just like,
Yeah.
you're
You
never
just
gonna,
get stuck in it. Yeah.
you're never gonna move forward. And any type of, for me, writing this book, or I'm building the plane as I'm flying it, and I'm that always that phrase is always that
We
saying.
gotta find a new one. I know,
That
I know,
saying is always weird
I
because you're just
know.
like, but I'm building the world as it goes,
Yeah.
and things come up that I write about that I need to go back in and change some things. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I've decided this is what this is going to be like, so I need to go back and like, or some things that are I need to foreshadow in Act One that's happening now that I didn't
Hmm.
do as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for example, Cleo was adopted, and I mentioned it in the Act One, but one of my readers was like, I didn't pick up on that. And so I need to like make that more of a thing that comes up again.
Yeah. Like make that more
Um,
prominent.
yeah.
It's you saying like the way that you're not editing and moving it forward. I was just thinking about George R. R. Martin and how he hasn't finished. And like I don't think that series is ever going to be finished. And I almost wonder, and I haven't looked, maybe he's talked about this, but like the fact that the show finished the series, I wonder if that's an issue.
For him writing the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's like so into world building that I think you could almost get caught in world building, but I wonder if he's like, oh, like, because I don't think that was the ending he was gonna have.
Yeah. Yeah, world building.
But like, it's interesting how different writing processes you can get stuck on certain things. Like,
That's what I got stuck on. And it wasn't and to say like yeah, the AI assistants in terms of like helping me like organize my thoughts was
hmm,
a good catalyst for me in a way.
hmm,
Like, oh, okay, let's move past this,
yeah, yeah,
in a way. Whereas like sometimes I would get stuck on like, well, how would I write this? How do you do this? Like, because I feel like there's so many books on writing as a new author writing something like this. Like, how do I write a dinner table scene that sounds
hmm,
so it's not like, and then she said this, and then
right,
she said that, and I said that. You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
right.
there's a
And then he said,
because such a linear mind person. And so, for example, I was like, there's a trip to Cartagena, and I was like, do I have to write about every single thing they do in Cartagena? That could be
right,
a book of itself. So it's sort of like, how do you pick and choose these key points, and how do you write about the rest of what's going on, right? And so I think that, and multiple characters, right? And how do you do that so it doesn't confuse readers or things like that. So it's like a lot of different things that I used to get hung up on. And so I've sort of haven't mastered it, but sort of like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way, and then I'm just gonna keep going.
yeah. And it's also interesting because you're not a new author or writer, but you're new to this style, right? And writing for yourself versus like we're so often writing proposals or projects or
Yeah.
emails or like, which is such a different, like a completely different style of
Yeah.
writing.
Sure.
I'm so excited. I mean, it's amazing that you're doing it, but it's also just like such a good book.
I know. Thank you.
It's such a good
I
story.
appreciate all the support because you just never know about your ideas, right? Like if a lot of the times we live in our own world and live in our heads. We have self-doubt, but it's sort of like actualize on that. That's the hardest part for me in most things. It's like I always have amazing ideas. People always tell me that, like, oh, you should do that. Oh, you should
Hmm.
podcast. You should start that business. That's a cool idea. That do a lineage of so many different things. But it's just actualizing on it and doing it is the hardest part. And so, excuse me, finding that way to actualize it is so important. Like
Yeah,
I have a friend who wants to write a book, more of a memoir of her life. And I was just telling her how I got started on my phone, Google Docs. I was just like writing things down on
right.
my Google Doc as this is long ago. I was traveling from Baltimore to DC. I used to live in Baltimore and I work in DC. And so I would just write there. And this story, it's crazy to think about. It's been an iterative process, and I've sort of changed big chunks of it and throughout what this over 5 6 years. Not that it's taken that long to write this book, but in order to grasp the concept
Yeah.
and what the story is, because you have to mold the story, right? I mean, I didn't have a clear point of view in the beginning. I knew I wanted to be a DC set story. I knew there were going to be queer characters, but I knew I wanted to tackle wealth, and I really wanted to tackle. This is how it started. I wanted to tackle the Love DC, my hometown. Not a lot of stories about DC away from the politics of the city. So I wanted to highlight that. wanted the characters to be black and queer. We get stories about that, but I wanted to tell a
Hmm.
different story than that. And then I also wanted to highlight the that being black is not a monolith. We're not all the same. And no group is a monolith.
Yeah.
And so I think telling these two distinct characters in terms of how they grew up, their interests, things like that is really important and sort of shedding light on that. That's how it got started. And so then from there, I was like, okay, so world building, what world are they living in? Like, yeah, la, la, la. And it's so funny because this got started in the Trump 1.0 administration, transcended
The
into the
one.
Biden administration. Now we're back. And
Over.
so and it's a great thing for my book. I don't even touch presidential federal
No.
politics. Like it takes place in DC. I've not mentioned administration. I alluded to COVID just by saying when we were working from home, but now we're
Mhm.
back in the office. But that's not a sort of a major part of the story.
But I also think it's interesting because so many times people think DC, people who don't live in DC or in the region, even some people in the region, they just think it's all politics. Like they can't imagine what DC is outside of what they see on, I almost said C-SPAN. No one's watching C-SPAN, whatever they watch on whatever news station that they're watching or social media platform. And I love that you're like not
We don't
highlighting and
care.
focusing that. Like
The federal
it's,
government may employ us, and these are like often like my like
I mean,
roles
it's relative.
that don't even touch policy. These are operational roles that a lot of these folks that are in DC working,
Yeah,
like DC native Washingtonians, they're your secretaries, your office managers, your engineers in the building. You know what I mean? Like, sure, like these are the career employees
yeah,
that are keeping the lights going, keeping the government running. They're not necessarily touching policy, like they're not the ones being interviewed on your Sunday morning shows or anything like
right,
that.
right,
And so I think that's what people can't grasp about. And then because of that, there's a whole world outside of politics. We don't just hang out on Capitol Hill.
right.
We're not at Old Ebbitt getting a burger every day. You know what I mean? Like these are some institutions that we have here, but we're not hanging on Pennsylvania Avenue.
No,
It's actually quite boring. Like we're not at the Lafayette Square. You know?
right, right.
That's not that's not
You're not living out House of Cards every day,
that's not
but
the culture
it's
of the
not.
majority of people that live here. 6.5 million people live in the DC metro area, which I think people are often like, what? 700,000 of those people living in the boundary of DC,
Yeah,
okay? The majority of people don't care. They're just trying to live their lives, trying to get the American dream, like
right.
everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you left that out because it's important.
Yeah.
When you live in DC, I think it's hard to conceptualize. It's like, yeah, it's just like everywhere else. Like you have your favorite grocery store and you're like,
Yeah.
and whatever. I mean, I think it's a special and a magical place. Like it's a really incredible community. But it's not, not everybody there is trying to be the next like Speaker of the House. Like it's,
Oh my God. We could care less. Uh,
you know what we care about? We care about the panda at
uh,
Zoo Lights and like what kind of crazy thing they're gonna do that year. Like I think it's funny like how it becomes like this the nation's capital when you live there becomes this like little micro city. You know what I mean? It's like
Funny thing about it, I was talking with my friend Trina about this. We were in Mount Pleasant. That's where the restaurant was.
uh
And DC is small.
yeah,
Like you can fit many cities. You can fit DC inside of many cities in terms of like area wise. It's
yeah,
7 square miles. It's 10 miles from one end to the other. But it's such a diversity of neighborhoods. And to articulate that, I was in Mount Pleasant yesterday, which is like a little village,
hmm,
like probably like what, 5 square blocks
yeah,
total. Like not big, but it was such a departure from where I was like 2 miles away when I was downtown at the Capitol Hilton, which is like 2 blocks from the White
yeah,
House. Very like downtown, central business district vibe. And they have these little tree line, Mount Pleasant, super cute, very like sometimes I call it like counterculture type and
yeah,
community from where like my parents live in this like lived in Brookland neighborhood, families, been there for a long time, are different from like Capitol Hill, which is very different from a Georgetown, or like even if you go further where my one of my characters live in one of my main characters lives in Wesley Heights, which is like very she
Hmm.
like Cathedral Heights area, upper northwest, and the other character lives in Shaw, which is also very distinct. And what a story Shaw has lived since over the
Yeah.
last 100 years. So I think those are some of the things that people often leave out when talking about DC as being lazy or whatever politician says about it, the swamp. It's like, oh my God. It's anything but
It's
but
anything
but
but.
but go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right, go ahead. I
Yeah,
know. I know. It's because they spend 3 days a week
I know.
in town and then go back to wherever they're from and do it for
Yeah.
2 or 4 years, depending on the administration. I love that though. It'll give exposure to DC to people who aren't used to it in a really different way.
hmm
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited for the book. I'm looking for people that are wondering if the book will sell. This is my first time publishing anything like this, so looking to be wrapped up with my manuscript by I'll say July 1,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
then
soon.
yeah, soon. And then I'm going to start developing pitches for publishing companies, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Do you have some in mind?
Not specifically, besides like I know the big ones, but
Yeah.
like, obviously trying to find publishing houses that are interested in black queer or just black or something different story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That all of them aren't. So that can be something. My friend, who was I talking with? Lamont was talking about Red, White, and Royal Blue, how
Yeah.
that blew up.
Yeah.
Casey McQuiston is her name, the author.
Yeah.
Has a TV. So Amazon made a film out of it, and it's sort of just thinking like, look who's publishing this work already, and just like, oh, here's another story if you're interested.
Yeah. I think the thing with the book too is like, yes, it's Black queer DC, but it's really accessible because I think, like you were talking about all the different themes within it, it's themes that we all deal with and live in and spaces that we live in. And there's certainly things to learn and communities to discover, but it's the way that it's written is like very accessible.
Oh, thanks, Megan.
I think, I'm biased, but I think it's pretty great.
I know that's the thing. You're like, I'm biased as
But I
well.
think it's pretty great. What are you having for Memorial Day weekend?
What do
Did
you
you
mean?
grow up eating like certain food? Would you like grill out?
What? We just don't. No, I don't have a tradition.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
feel
gosh, it's
like,
almost your birthday.
yeah, it's almost my birthday.
Let's start the whole like, what do you want to do for your birthday this year? Do you want
I
to do a shindig?
I don't know. I think so. Yesterday, when I was down at the Capitol Hilton for the vendor showcase thing, I ran
Mm,
into one of my friends from middle school, high school, no, elementary and middle school, and he works at the Arena Stage. He's
mm,
the group sales coordinator or manager,
mhm.
and there's a play there by Terrell Alvin McCraney. He wrote Moonlight.
Oh, cool.
Speaking of South Florida, and it's a play. It's a black queer play. Two main characters are, and he was saying I wanted to go when it's here. And he was saying like if I get 10 more people together, he can give me a deep discount on going. So I thought,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
maybe for my birthday, I can get people to gather and go see the play with me and maybe do something after or not, depending on how we're feeling.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so doing that.
Nice.
Um, but outside, and I don't know.
I feel like every year you like
I
hem and
get I, I
haw,
get really
like
excited. I'm in such a him and har. There's this meme on the internet about Geminis saying like throughout the year Geminis are like, and then they get close to the birthday, they're like in the closet with clothes, just like I don't want to do anything.
why? Why do you think that is?
I think it's just the pressure and stress of it
Mm,
all. The tension on you,
I get
and you
that.
want it to be perfect, so you don't do anything because you can't figure out the perfect way to do it. You
Mm,
know what I mean? So, for example, like I wanted to like originally I was gonna rent out a patio near in a neighborhood restaurant near me, um, and I was like, oh, that'll be cool. And then I wanted to do it on June 14th, which is the same day as that stupid parade that's coming. The military parade.
Have they started putting down tracks and
The
stuff for that?
military isn't stupid. It's
The
just the
parade.
parade is like not.
It's so not us. Like it's so not us.
And the thing about this is where we get DC local in the place. This is going to snarl the city because
Yeah,
people are going to come into town for this. What else? I think it's also Flag Day randomly. I don't think Flag Day is. I think it's around there anyways. Um, and it's gonna be. It's luckily it's not. It's in a more downtown. But still, if you have friends that live in Virginia that are coming across the bridge, you really won't be
forget
able to
it. Yeah,
forget
forget
it.
it.
Or, just getting around the region will be difficult if you're trying to come into DC because traffic is going to be insane. So it's like, so that prevents you from like doing anything really. And, so that's the thing.
Mm,
Just,
that's annoying. Have you seen if they're like putting down tracks and stuff
no,
for it or
I haven't been down there. I did
yeah,
see, I don't know if they're setting up for the 4th of July or for that. Probably that, because I did see the
yeah,
stage was down at the west side of the Capitol.
yeah,
And I don't know, that's where they always do the 4th of July 4th stuff.
yeah.
But who knows? It's not ideal. It's not
It's yeah, it feels so weird to me.
very strange.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just
We'll
see
see
what
how
happens.
it destroys the bridges and roads because they're going across
Right, who's gonna pay for that?
it's going
Well,
across
we
the
are, I
Memorial
guess.
Bridge that just got hit by a car. It gets repaired.
What?
And these bridges and these tanks that
Yeah.
just have the
Yeah.
soldiers march. Why we need the tanks?
Why do we need any of it?
If you're going to do something, just have the people and the flutes and the yeah, I love seeing the
That's what we see in the 4th of July.
I
Like
love
the
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fun and the little
Yeah.
outfits.
Yeah. The
Leave it
piccolo.
at that. I know.
And they've got on all the different garb throughout the years. I like
Yeah,
that. I'm into that.
yeah, pageantry. Like leave out the tanks.
Yeah.
Be a bajillion. Like wow, like what do they say? 100 helicopters flying overhead. Like,
What?
this is where it gets offensive to people that live here because this is not only this. It's like now we got to hear this stuff constantly
But I guess what's
all
the
day
point?
long.
What's the point? To show how powerful we are?
It's just
I don't I guess that's my thing. Like I don't get the point of it.
it's a hot mess.
Meanwhile, we're like cutting veterans benefits. Like what? What is happening? It's you know what? This is very maybe I should rewatch Game of Thrones. It's the second thing I thought of today, but isn't it Tyrion who's like anyone who says they're the king doesn't hold power or something like that to that,
True.
when Joffrey was like, I am the king. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's so weird. It's just not.
Do you have any Memorial Day traditions in the
No, growing up, we would always go to Aunt Barbie's house
roll the
and we
meat?
would play croquet and have deli meat. Actually, I don't know if we had deli meat for that.
That's the thing. I want to start traditions. I mean, obviously, I think I got my own personal traditions, but I
Yeah.
want to start traditions with a family, my own family, for things like this. What's so funny? You mentioned Memorial Day is that um, Khalil in the book has traditions for Memorial Day with his family that he's
Hmm.
missing to go to a bachelor weekend. Big,
Oh,
big, bachelor party weekend. Big plot point in the book. So it's funny you bring that up when I
yeah.
just wrote about this.
Yeah. The Boca Raton is celebrating its 100th birthday, its centennial.
Um,
So there's been things going on. There was a Weezer concert last night, which was very popular.
it ain't so. Oh, oh,
That's
your
so good.
love is a heartbreaker.
I go. That's funny. That's the first one you went to.
The bottle of Stephen awakens ancient feelings.
The first one I
Stepfather, stepfather.
the first one I always go to is ooh, wee, ooh, I look just like
That's like
Buddy Holly.
Holly.
Uh-oh,
Oh,
and you're
oh,
Mary
Mary
Tyler Moore.
Tyler.
I don't care what they
They
say
say
about us
about us
anyway.
anyway. I
I
don't
don't care
know
about that.
that. Da, 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 da.
Bang, bang, knock on the door. No.
My God. Bro, I got my hash pipe.
I-
That song slaps.
That's
Like,
a good song. They have range, man. And then there's Island, and we're islands in the sun. We'll be playing and having fun.
what about this song? Do you want to destroy
Do
my
I
sweater?
swear? Yeah, it's good. So anyway, they were last night, and then tonight there's some sort of thing, but at the end it's fireworks and like a drone show, and I was like, ooh, maybe we'll go to that.
Ooh, movies.
Oh, but it's really, 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 really hot here.
Really, 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 really cold here. What's the temperature
Mm.
now? We're in like light, we're in a jean jacket
There's a
season.
nor'easter up north.
It's 71 degrees in DC on
That's
May.
lovely. It's 88 degrees with a real feel of 101,
Oh my God.
78% humidity. Lord.
Who
Lord
wants
love a duck.
Lord of a duck? And Bob's your mother.
Bob, what is Bob's your mother?
I don't know what that
I
means.
don't know either.
I
Makes
just
me nervous. It's like,
I,
uh-oh,
I
where did
discovered that phrase.
where did it come from? Um, well, that sounds fun. Just hang out.
Hang out.
You're
Yeah.
right.
All
Are you
right.
off tomorrow?
Yep, off
Yeah,
tomorrow.
same.
I want to just do my thing. Um, yeah.
Do
And
you
then,
want kids still?
oh,
Or just like in theory?
everything's great in concept.
Yeah.
Mm,
The reason I ask is you were like, I want to build traditions with the family.
yes, I'm open to kids. I'm not, it's not shirking the question, but I'm just thinking the practicality of it being my age. I mean, most people are done having kids at my age, I'm
Mhm.
43 right now. So I don't want to be,
But
I,
the average age of a first child in DC is 40.
I know, right? I mean, I'm open to adoption, right? I
Yeah.
think having a child from birth is, uh, this is all concept. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I've not done any research on any of this stuff. All I know is that there's so many people that need homes
Yeah.
in our country, and if I can provide them with a home and a loving house of support and resources for them, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I also don't want to do it alone,
Yeah.
and so that brings us to the conundrum of why am I still single?
Are you dating?
No,
Who has time to date?
I have time to date. I'm just not dating.
Are you on the apps?
Ugh, the apps are a train wreck.
Are you actively swiping?
I'm trying to be more out in events,
The
meet
wild. Yeah.
meet people in real life as opposed to
So
swiping.
here's my question though. If and I'm asking this for myself. Like if you're not at a like singles event, I think it's like so hard, and maybe it's just because of where I live. I feel like it's hard to know, first of all, if someone's single or not, and B, like it's hard to just meet. I don't
You have
know.
to, at our age, we have to be aggressive. We have to know what we want. When we see it, we have to pounce.
I know, but how do
Why?
you know if they're single or not?
Well, you don't. That's why you have to go up and talk to them and see
Oh
who they
Lord,
are.
that seems tough.
Why is that tough?
Maybe I can just get a shirt made with like a QR code.
You're a beautiful woman.
I know, but I don't want to go up and like talk to. I'm like friendly anyway.
Well, that's just use your friendly and use your charm, and you can get get you can find out if they're single pretty
I
quickly.
should have a sandwich board that's like scan here if you'd like to talk further.
Right, you just gotta go. I mean, sliding is a big popular thing now. Do you slide in the DMs?
No, you're a big slider. You're a good DM
I'm not a
slider.
big slider.
You are. You're good at it. You've met a
I
lot
mean,
of
I
people that
talk to
way.
people. I mean, sliding is like talking to people. I mean, there's a lot of people on Instagram who shared interests
Yeah.
that I've discovered that live close to me. And so we like chit chat and things.
Do you
I've never
remember?
I've never gone on a date from an Instagram slide.
Oh,
So
really?
okay.
Interesting. Do you remember when you set I forget which app it was, but you set it to like nationwide, and you're like, oh, there's this guy in Texas. I was like, what are we doing here?
Yes, there's a guy in
Or
Texas.
Louisiana or whatever. It was like, oh, wow, okay. Which
Yeah.
in theory is kind of cool because it's like, yeah, you could meet a lot more
Yeah,
people that
I'm
way.
open for
Yeah.
sure. Depending, like,
You got the boots.
I'm not moving to Texas.
Mm-mm.
No, all the offense.
No, yeah, it's wild down there.
Um,
Boot
I
scoot. Um,
yeah, so
yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting idea to like open up to other places, but then there's a practicality around it
it
too, I
is. I
guess.
mean, I think we can. I wish it was like serious people only. I wish it was like called the app called Serious. Like you're seriously looking to connect with someone,
Yeah.
or some type of program. If we really want to have babies in this country,
Oh
as
boy.
the administration says they want babies, you would help people find people. That's the way you get babies. Is if you
I
find
don't want the government getting involved in our dating.
no, but make
Ugh.
it, but make it not like direct, but make it conducive so that it's easier to find people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, make it conducive so that there are places to go, third places, speaking of urban planning, that people can go invest in parks and dog parks and these types of things. This is where people meet people
Having a
all the
livable
time.
wage and health insurance and
Oh, yeah.
yes, so
Yes,
that
yes.
you're not like
All,
just grinding your whole life.
all that too. But I'm just saying, like I just was talking with a friend whose cousin met his mistress at a dog park. I mean, his mistress, but like it,
The awkward laughter.
they met someone. So I think these types of things, invest in places, invest in small businesses that provide a benefit for gathering, whether it's like, oh, remember bowling alleys, remember skating rinks, remember these things we used to go to randomly, like those types of community amenities will be great to meet people. Like if I had a dog park, the closest green space, I have a green space kind of near me, but it's not activated. Like we have to act. We have to create the green space or whatever the third space is, and we have to activate it as for community.
Okay, so with this administration, who would be in charge of that?
They're
Who would
not.
they?
No.
Rudy Giuliani. Who would they put in
Portraying of
charge?
births.
It's yeah, they're pro birth. They're pro like people having babies. That's about it.
But I think there is something to be said. I mean, that's what I mean, but think about it. The government is involved in doing that.
Of
We
course.
we receive an assessment from the county in taxes to do events in Arlington County. It's by way of like it trickles downstream, but so that's you know what I mean? So they kind of are in the business of doing this.
Everything is political. Everything.
But I
We've
think
said this.
I
Yeah.
know, but I think we should be more be intentional about it because there's so many like if I were a leader, if I you know what I mean? If my goal was births are declining, how do we get more people up? Obviously invest in Head Start and make sure people are, the social safety net when it comes to having families.
Yes.
But we have to start from the beginning. How do we even get more families?
And climate change.
All these
Like
single people are here. Women are choosing not to even get married or to start later. Men are doing men things, in terms of like, you
it's
know,
dangerous to have a child now without reproductive health.
no, I know.
It's like yeah, there's a lot of things that can be done. A
But make
lot.
it make it a friendly environment, a conducive environment for people to have kids or to be matched and be partnered and encouraged. But I mean, if the birth rate's declining, eventually someone's gonna have to address it. Like
I mean, there's a lot. Well, the addressing right now is
in an
like
intentional way.
it's intentional right now. It's very intentional right now.
More than just $5,000 for each kid you pop out,
Yeah,
which is kind of
it's
crazy.
got to be more than that. But there's a plan. You can read about it. It's just not, I don't think it's really going to help address the birth rate issue, but yeah, I don't know. It's really wild. And then you get into the whole like male loneliness epidemic, and I'm like, like, I mean, I do think that
It's
there's
tough.
like issues,
It's tough
but
for guys now.
it's tough for guys.
Yeah.
Why?
because it's
They
not
can't treat women like shit anymore and get away with it?
not what I'm saying.
No, I know you're not. It's tough for guys. Tell me more.
Tough for guys because often my fellow brethren, majority of them, at least the people that I know, what's the word? There's a lot of pressure on men to be men, if that makes
We
sense.
have to redefine masculinity.
Of course, but we do. But that's not what the current men have been living under.
Yeah, like patriarchy
So
hurts men. Like,
we know this,
I know,
but
I know, I know, I know, I know.
society doesn't. So I think that's what a big challenge is the all that on guys to be a certain way, right? And not to be hard and tough and stoic and whatever, as opposed to being like, more in touch with feelings and things. This is my take. This is and I think that's a big part of it. I think the landscape for men in general has changed dramatically over the last, what, 50 years,
Hmm.
less than maybe.
Yeah,
And I think that's women don't need men to do much of anything anymore.
yeah.
You don't need men to have a baby. You can just go to a sperm bank and get it going. So I feel like I mean that and a bunch of other
Well,
issues.
there aren't tools to deal with it,
Right.
right? I mean, like, we're not building capacity in our society to deal with changes.
No,
And instead, it's like just go back to this idea that wasn't even real in the first place.
how to talk to women. Like there's a lot of big thing. A lot of socialization is weird, and
And
also
women are opting out of it. It's like, ew,
the
no.
advent of social media, the advent of video games, the advent of guys
Mm.
just being singular to themselves or with other guys. Also, it makes a big point. You got to socialize. You got to be more social, right? And I think that's a big part of it. We're not social. You go to even if you're in school. Like I feel like there needs to be a I don't know. Remember when we used to go through elocution classes? Remember
Hmm.
those? Men need to go through that. Be a how do I don't know. I just
I
feel like
think it is interesting
some
to your
skills need to
point.
be gained.
Well, I think it's interesting that we don't really teach feelings and capacity and dealing with conflict and dealing with difficult emotions and interpersonality. Like we kind of teach it in preschool and kindergarten, but then we're like so focused on all the like very technical parts of education that we don't get into the person as a whole. Like, and
That make you feel? Why are you angry right now? You know what I
how do
mean?
you work through
How do you
that?
work through it? Conflict resolution. I just can't beat someone bloody. I can't go out and shoot people. Like how do
Yeah,
I work through these feelings I'm feeling?
right. How do we deal with shame and guilt and pain and
Suck it up.
anger?
Be a
Suck it
man.
up.
Be a man.
Hmm.
I'm be a man. Be a man. And you're just like, okay.
My friend said that her sister told her one time that she takes all her emotions and stuffs it in a trash can, an imaginary trash can, and when it gets full, she shoots it to the moon. I was like, oh, that's that's healthy. That's cool. So you could do that. You could just stuff an emotional trash can and shoot it to the moon.
And not be discouraged when you get shot down. I feel like how many stories, these are all anecdotes, about we heard people like, a guy will talk to a woman and try to, flirt or whatever, and they be like, no, thank you. And then they get
Yeah,
like angry and like violent and abusive
because
after
it's a
it.
sense of entitlement. They're
Right,
entitled to that person. They're entitled to their interest. How dare they?
right. So that's what I'm talking. Like, how do we?
And I don't think that's every guy, but I think there's some of
No,
that.
but
There is
these
this sense of
stories,
entitlement. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Men are down bad. Really like listening to Scott Galloway's take. First time I heard Scott Galloway talking about this. He's a podcaster, a professor at NYU Stern School of Business, marketing professor. He has a podcast with Kara Swisher
Mm.
called Pivot. He also has two other podcasts. He's really, really smart, really, really good. I highly recommend listening to his stuff or his books out. Feel free. But he really has a great take on the crisis with men, and then it is a crisis. And I know we often like, haha, men, but as I listened to him more, I was dismissing him in the beginning, but as a man, and as listening to him more, I'm like, he's onto something.
I think it is a crisis. I do think it's a crisis, and it's a crisis of our own creation.
Yes.
And I think it goes back to what we were kind of talking about multiple times throughout this conversation of like there are underlying issues of why these things are happening because
Right.
we are not supporting a society that is part of the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Like in all of those ways. And we're not redefining for ourselves who we want to be.
You know what it is? It's like white people, men, and separate, but sometimes, a lot of times they
Yeah.
overlap. It's just been a whirlwind, though, and it's not an excuse for people that act the way they are. They just don't know how to operate in this post 19 late 60s world when everyone became, for the most part, rights. And I think that's what we're dealing with still. Like, how can women just like women are the most educated, they're going to college, they're, doing all these amazing things and like advancing themselves and like in a very short amount of time women are like bet we're gonna do it and they
Yeah.
are and men are just like you know what I mean. I feel like in general, speaking in broad generality.
Well, broad strokes, right? And if
Right.
and yeah, it's a lot of change at once. I'm sure it looks a certain way to what you were saying of like women took off. I mean, like
Yeah.
we created it for ourselves. And where do you turn? Where do men turn to have these discussions and to think it through and to have nuance
But
and
there's
and
this
not put it on women and not put it on, you know what I mean? Like
where they're turning,
where?
we know they're turning to the manosphere.
Right. And so before it
Oh
was like, I don't know, sports and maybe your religious organization or whatever. And now it's like scary shit on the internet.
yeah, I think one of the things is that because even when like it's so funny, people make fun of it, like joke, poke fun at how guys, like even Michelle Obama's podcast, they were, I forget which episode it was. I think it was the Issa Rae episode, which is very good episode. Michelle and her brother, Michelle Obama and her brother, Craig, have a podcast called IMO, which is
It's
really
really
good.
good. Yeah.
And Issa Rae was on talking about friendships, and they were talking about how women's friendships are very different from women and women friendships, versus different between men male friendships together. How when guys get together, they'll go play basketball, they'll play games or whatever. They don't really talk about stuff, right? They don't talk about their feelings. They don't talk for the most part, right? Um,
There's no details.
right. And you're like, oh, what did you guys talk about? Oh, nothing. We were just hanging out.
Nothing.
And then
Oh,
you're like,
Matt and his girlfriend broke up. What happened? I don't know. You didn't
right.
ask?
You're like,
No. What?
right. And so and that's so interesting. And Issos and Michelle were talking. They're like saying, if my girlfriend come over, it's a 2-day experience. Come in. We're gonna I'm gonna put you up in the guest room. We're just gonna spend the first hour just drinking tea and like getting settled in. And then we'll talk about this and then work with the next hour. Not all this prescribed like this, but it's just how
No.
conversation flows,
It's
right?
so relational.
You
It's
get so
so
deep in the
relational.
weeds about the kids and everything. Like it's a 2-day process to catch up with someone. And it's so interesting that, for guys, like with my guy friends, my close friends, we talk and we go there.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciate that friendship that I have, that brotherhood I have with my male friends. But I think more guys should unpack their feelings.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I guess when you start to unpack the feelings, though, what do you do with it?
We just process together. That's
Yeah.
what I do. It was all about processing. Like, yeah, I don't know how to feel about this, or I don't know what to do, just live in it. Just sometimes just voicing it is a little bit of relief. Like, I'm so upset right now. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm so afraid.
Yeah.
Like, these are all not masculine things to say, quote unquote.
Quote
Like,
unquote. Yeah, yeah,
quote
yeah.
unquote. And like, I'm afraid, I'm fearful, I'm ashamed. These things are like we feel these feelings, but we don't voice them often. It's not it being me,
Right.
so I think it's important. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. You know what I mean? So
I think there's a lot of depression and anger that's unaddressed.
So much.
unaddressed.
And so much stuff is always a comparison. What do they say? Comparison is the
Thief of joy.
right. And I think a lot of it is like, well, my body doesn't look like this, especially the gym bros. Like, I want to be,
Yeah,
all or like, I don't have this car, I don't have this house or whatever. I don't have this woman, my girl. I don't have a girl that looks like insert what I
whatever. But
ideal.
that is a symptom of consumerism. That
Hmm?
you're getting your self-worth from things. And the men who do that, and people, not just men, people who do that see partners as a thing.
I'm not having enough sex. Like, I don't have as many sexual partners.
Yep. Yep. It's all a scorecard and it's all about comparison and it's all
Yeah.
about consuming. And it's really hard to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's a crisis. As much as I kind of roll my eyes, I do think it's a crisis that we can't ignore.
Priceless. I'm sure you're seeing it at the schoolyard with like boys.
Well, I also think that's a huge part of it is I don't think we talk to our boys. And I don't think that we as parents are doing enough, not nearly enough, in terms of talking to our 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys.
And that's the
And
time to get
and
them.
some of the stuff that is I've heard come out of their mouths, heard come out of my son's mouth, or seen it on a text message or whatever, it's shocking. And it's easier now when you're not in public spaces. This is all done without any monitoring, whether it's, on Snapchat or on text message or whatever. Like, when we grew up and we were on the playground or we were at the mall or whatever, there were other people around us.
Yeah.
So the stuff that they say, you might have thought it, but you wouldn't have said it because there were other people. There was this like, there were boundaries, I guess, but talking through it and talking through what they're seeing, how they're feeling, like, and they're not going to want to do it. And you can't give up.
Can't give up.
You can't give up on it because otherwise you're just going to have a lot of angry, sad men who don't know what to do with it, except turn it outwards to other people.
Yeah. That's
And
not hope.
it's hard. It's really hard. And yeah, I don't, it's a lot. I mean, and I think parents are trying to do the best that they can, but I do think that like oftentimes it's this whole mentality of like boys will be boys, locker room talk,
Oh,
ha ha ha. It's a phase. It's like, yeah, it is a phase and you need to address it. Like,
a phase that's going to go into adulthood. You don't want that.
yeah. And they're all just reinforcing it for each other. It becomes this echo chamber. And then girls are growing up in a completely different direction. I mean, it's
Right.
just like,
Completely different trajectory for sure.
yeah. So anyway, well, this was a good yap.
It was.
Do you do yoga? I meant to ask you.
I should. My thighs are burning from my
Your workout.
yeah. Squats, baby.
Do you take baths? Are you a bath guy? No.
Mm. Should I?
Epsom salt bath is great.
Yeah, sit in the tub.
Do you have a foam roller?
Yeah, you bought me one.
Oh, I did? Oh, that's so nice. You should use it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you and your burning thighs for talking with
I
me.
know they're burning thighs.
Burning thighs. Grrr. Yeah, and you're gonna interview me for our 1 year anniversary of the podcast.
I am?
Yeah, you said you were.
Yeah, looking like that. I am.
Let me reconfirm. Look at your calendar. Yeah,
Yes, of
turn the
course.
tables. Ask the hard
Turn the
questions.
table.
What
Who is
kind of
who is Megan DeFord
who is
really?
Megan DeFord?
Really
What
know
kind of
her?
kind of bagel does she
Who is
like?
Megan Marie Ship DeFord? Who is this woman?
Who is
This
this
woman from
lady?
humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings.
Howard County, farmland, salt to the earth.
Salt. You're too much. You could do a documentary.
It's farm day at high school.
Drive your tractor to school day.
God, Glenelle.
I know. It's so
Um,
interesting going from like a religious K to 8 small parochial school education to that.
it's so amazing. It's so funny. It's a preview of the interview. My friends are always pleasantly surprised when they meet you because, especially my black friends, I would
Yeah.
say, because I think, not to get too much into, but
Oh, go there. Just say it. Yeah.
I feel like you're a cool white person. Where a lot of the times, in their experiences, white people tend to be, I don't know what the word is.
I look like a Karen. I look like an anchor on Fox News. And I think it's an interesting
That's what
space to,
maybe that's it. I
yeah,
don't.
I do. I look like a threat to a lot of people, especially black people. I mean, white women who look like me haven't historically been the best allies. And I shouldn't laugh
Oh my
about it, but it's
God.
an interesting space to live in because some people tell me things that I'm like,
Wow.
whoa, like you don't know anything about me and you're making a lot of assumptions.
Right.
Um, but I could see it on the other end too of like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to this person.
Yeah, but you are a fan favorite wherever
Oh.
you go. And
Also, I think, thank you, but I also think you have wonderful friends
I do. I have a strong discernment about who I let into my inner circle, and
and they're
so
wonderful.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, you can't
there's
right.
only one I don't like.
Uh,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. There's literally not one I don't
you're not
like.
kidding. You're not
What?
kidding.
I
Yeah.
like all of them. There was
Um,
one person who, for a while, I was like, but they're fine.
okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that's I right, and I think from the day we met in that conference room in my interview, like I thought, oh, she's tough.
I was tough. I
She's
was tough.
but fair.
Sweetie. That's an interesting conversation for us to talk about at some point, but I used to think that's how I had to be. It was like very tough and very aggressive
You were
and
very
very,
tough
yeah.
when I first met. And that because when I was young, you were what, 25,
How
6,
old was that when we met?
2007. So
However old that is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
tough,
somewhere around there, early 20s. And like,
tough, tough white woman with a pixie cut.
but I think also, yeah, I did have a pixie cut, but I also think because I'm like bubbly and cheery and like people wouldn't take me seriously,
Yeah.
And so I think, but I also think the flip side of that as well is I grew up in an environment where manly behavior, you know what I mean? Like that sort of idea, talk about
Aping
idea
this
of masculinity
masculinity
and moving forward was
at the
valued.
beginning,
So that's
in
how
the
I,
nascent of your career, right? It's
yeah.
so interesting how what does RuPaul say? Everything is drag, right?
Yeah, everything's drag.
And this drag we put on to sort of to advance your career. So more to come about that with Megan DeFord.
With Matt and Meg.
Stay tuned for more.
Date. Maybe Matt has to check his calendar.
I'll
Reconfirm.
yes. Oh my God. I'm a mess.
No,
Anyway,
you're not a mess. I probably said it in passing. You were like, oh, yeah, of course, tell me about it later. And then we started talking about something else.
I'm glad my thighs are burning because I know it's working. Like I know that the muscle
Yeah.
is
It's
used.
like the best pain, right? It's like,
Like, ooh, let me flex again. Ooh, it hurts.
oh,
Hurts
oh.
so good. Da, na, 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 na,
Then,
na.
come
Come
on,
on,
baby,
baby, make
make
it
it
hurt
hurt
so
so good.
good. Sometimes
Sometimes love
love
don't
doesn't feel
feel
like
like
it
it
should.
should. Oh, baby. It's
Hurts
so
so good.
good.
Thanks,
We're
John
like,
Cougar
we're both
Mellencamp.
waiting for each other.
I
I
know.
feel like that's a good place to stop.
That's a good karaoke song too.
Yeah, it is. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Wait, What Do You Do Again? For more information about today's guest, or if you'd like to be on the show, please visit megdeford.com. See you next time.